Hey guys. Okay, so this week we're going to talk about how the increased building prices are reshuffling or changing the order in which we do things within the town planning world. Why? Well, earlier this week I found myself in a meeting with a building designer and homeowner. Now, towards the end of that meeting, the building designer turned to the homeowner and said, "Would you like to get a builder involved now before we go to DA?" I found myself really rudely, actually in hindsight, and abruptly cutting them off and basically saying I would go almost as far to say that I would not lodge your application until you had a builder involved. Like, I'm going to put my foot down and refuse to proceed with this application. I was thinking about it afterwards and I went, that was a bit short. Like, why did I come across so harsh? I went, clearly there's an issue building here. Clearly there's something that I feel we need to get out there and we need to be talking about. So, what better way to do that than through this week's video? So, where do we start? First, in case you've been hiding under a rock, building prices have increased. Pretty obvious. I think everyone's talking about it. But why have they increased? Well, there is a bucket load of different reasons. Number one, we had some massive fires, obviously, just before COVID hit. That wiped out a massive amount of our local stock. So we no longer had those sources to be able to tap into. Next, obviously COVID. The rest of the world, including us at the beginning there, went into lockdown, meant factories were stopping, people weren't producing the materials. So then when things actually did restart, there was a bit of a backlog there to catch up on. Next, the stimulus packages. Across the world, globally, there were various stimulus packages rolled out. That led to a massive increase or boom in demand. Then you add to that the fact that people can't travel, so they've got this money, this holiday money, burning a hole in their pockets. They're desperate to spend it on something, so they're spending it on their houses. Basically, long story short, increased demand. Now, the manufacturers out there were forced to put on extra staff and get the staff to work extra hours, all that sort of stuff to try and meet some of this demand. Obviously, you've got to offer premium prices for people to be able to do that, so that started to push the prices up. Then, because there was such a huge demand that just was not being met, we found that people were trying to go different routes. So we were sourcing different manufacturing supply routes. I've heard stories of local mills here in Australia which had previously closed down because they couldn't compete with those global markets. They're now firing back up. Well, I've heard other stories of timber here in Australia being shipped over to Malaysia to be milled and then being shipped back here to be used. Or I've even heard stories of, so there's some timber in Europe, one part in Europe, it gets cut in one location, then it gets shipped to another location to be milled, then it gets shipped to another location, and when I say location, I mean totally different country. So different location to be treated, then a different country to be shipped here to Australia. Like, obviously, those traditional routes that we're used to using, we're using them because they're more cost effective. Now we're being forced to use these non-traditional routes, and they're obviously pushing the prices up. Then, last but not least, you add to the fact that, like I said, across the world, everyone is, not everyone, that's a wrong statement there. The first world countries, generally speaking, are booming. So I've heard Dubai and America in particular are just going absolutely crazy, even crazier than here in Australia. Now, these locations are closer to those European supply routes, so they don't have the same freight costs that we do here in Australia. So they can be more competitive in terms of prices. Put another way, they can offer to pay more than we can here. So we've kind of found ourselves in this bidding war where everyone's trying to outbid each other to try and get their hands on this material, and therefore that is naturally leading to increases. So that is a short summary of some of the reasons as to why our prices have gone absolutely through the roof. There is a lot of other reasons, but they're the key ones that I've sort of heard around the traps talking to builders and all that sort of thing. So yes, prices have massively increased. It's not going to change anytime soon. I think, well, I'm hearing someone said to me today, steel's going to go up 20% in the next week or two, and yesterday someone was telling me timber's predicted to rise again in the next month. It's going to keep rising. It's not going to go backwards. Yes, at some point it will stabilize and we won't see the massive increases, but it's not going to go backwards. So this is not going to change anytime soon. Keeping those factors in mind, we then come back to the original point of this video, how that impacts on our processes and the way we're doing things. Every single modification we have in with council at the moment, or that we're preparing at the moment, is being done purely for cost reasons. So people have got their DA through, they've got to the construction stage, they've realised they can't actually afford to build what they've designed. They're coming back to us to scale back the proposal, change the materials, all of that sort of stuff. it is super, super depressing to have to lodge those applications because people are doing it begrudgingly. They're not doing it because they want that design. They're doing it because they have no other choice. I also had a job the other day. We spent legit like 3 months, if not more, tic-tacking back and forth with the designer, getting the design right, getting all the information on the plans. Like, there was so much work that went into this application. We lodged it, and then literally a week later, the client came back and said, I've got my builder's costs and it's actually 500 grand above my budget. And I went, 500 grand? Like, that's not a small amount. So we had to withdraw the application. Again, the amount of work and effort that went in to get it to that point, I was like, oh my goodness. So I'm on a mission now. I don't want to be lodging these modification applications for cost reasons. I don't want to be withdrawing applications because that's not fun. It's not fun to take money off people when they're not getting something positive in return. So as a result, we need to shift the process. You need to get the builders involved at the start. Now, the big point I want to make here is I don't want people shopping around for builders. Like, I'm a strong believer that you shouldn't go out to like 5 different builders and get various quotes and compete on price and all that sort of stuff. I genuinely believe in most instances, if you're comparing apples to apples, so if you're getting quotes at the exact same time, the exact same level of materials, all of that sort of stuff, they should be comparable. So you're not going to see huge differences between builders. What I believe you should be doing is sourcing a builder that you feel you have good communication with. So when I say good communication, I mean you feel that you can trust them and you feel that you can actually have a conversation with them. So guys are going to talk to each other well throughout the whole process because you're going to be working with these guys sometimes for 12 months. It's a long relationship. So find a builder that you have a good vibe with and then sit down with them and try to work out together how you can refine the cost. Like, I was on site with a builder yesterday and the client turned around and said, okay, well, what if we go a slab on ground as opposed to a timber frame sort of structure for the lower level? And the builder turned around and went, you know what? With the timber prices we're facing at the moment, you'd probably save 20 grand by going the slab. Boom, instant cost saving. Like, I see those situations all the time. And the client yesterday was the best example. At the end, he turned around and just went, okay, well, what other aspects in this design are you thinking are the big ticket items? What could I potentially look to cut or modify to get my costs down? You can get some massive, massive savings through some little tweaks when you're working with a builder in those early stages. So, moral of the story, point I want to get across today is times are changing. Yes, we're seeing massive, massive increases in materials. As a result of that, we need to change the way that we do things, bring the builders on early on in the process rather than the end of the process, because I don't want to be lodging those applications for changes and modifications and withdrawing applications because it's depressing. And though when I do say involve builders early on, I'm not saying go and price match them and get into this bidding war between builders. I'm saying pick a builder that I think or that you think is a good fit for you in terms of communication, trust, all of that sort of stuff. A builder that's done your type of project before. Then sit down with them and try and work out ways to reduce the cost to refine the design. Okay. That was a long one. Hopefully I got everything across that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, that's it. Okay, as I always say, until next time, thanks for watching.
For all you red tape lovers out there, I have one thing to say. Well, no, actually, I've got 3. Number 1, the advice provided in these videos is general in nature. It's not site specific. You would be a silly Billy to go and make financial decisions based on this advice without first checking with the town planner. Don't be a silly Billy. Number 2, Brisbane Town Planning is in no way linked to Brisbane City Council. The views expressed in these videos are my own, not council's. So if you don't like them, blame me, not council. Number 3, what was my number 3? Oh yeah, the views expressed in these videos are accurate at the time of recording. If you're watching this video back 10 years from now, the views may not be so accurate. That's all.